It feels like AI is everywhere these days, right?
Yeah.
Like it's writing our emails and it's making art and it's even driving our cars.
It is.
But what about the very sound of our voices?
That's right. We're diving into the world of AI voice cloning today.
Yeah.
And we're going to be unpacking this really cool article by Freebeat all about how this tech is changing the game for voiceovers and dubbing.
And it goes way beyond that. Like, think about those robotic voices that we're all used to hearing from our virtual assistants.
Right.
What if they could sound just like a real person? Maybe even someone you know.
Yeah.
Or imagine video games where the characters have like such realistic voices that it's like you're actually in the scene with them.
Oh, wow.
That's what AI voice cloning is making possible.
Okay, so how does this actually work?
Yeah.
How can a computer capture something as complex and nuanced as the human voice?
Well, it all starts with feeding massive amounts of voice data into powerful deep learning algorithms.
Okay.
Specifically neural networks.
Think of these networks like a digital version of the human brain, except they're crunching through tons of data to learn the intricacies of speech.
Wow.
They analyze everything from the words themselves to the tiny variations in pitch, tone, and rhythm that make each voice unique.
Okay.
It's like creating a vocal fingerprint for each person.
So basically the AI is learning to mimic the patterns in someone's voice, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And some platforms are getting incredibly good at it.
Really?
Murf AI and Heygen AI, for example, can create some pretty stunningly human-sounding voice models.
I'm picturing someone recording their voice for a few minutes and then suddenly the AI can sound just like them.
Right.
But it's probably not that simple, is it?
You're right. There's a lot of complexity under the hood.
Okay.
These neural networks go through a rigorous training process.
Right.
Analyzing those voice recordings to isolate and understand the subtlest vocal cues.
Wow.
They learn how different accents shape pronunciation, how emotions affect the tone of voice, even how breathing patterns contribute to the overall sound.
So it's not just about matching the words, but actually replicating the entire performance right down to the breath.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is that this technology isn't just for fun and games. It's actually being used in a bunch of different industries.
That's right. Take dubbing, for instance.
Okay.
Imagine watching a foreign film where the actors' voices are dubbed perfectly into your language.
Oh, wow.
Complete with matching emotions and lip movements.
Yeah.
This could make global content so much more accessible.
Yeah, it would be a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
No more struggling to follow subtitles or feeling disconnected from the original performance.
Right.
But how do we make sure that the emotional impact isn't lost in translation?
That's a crucial consideration.
Yeah.
AI is still working on perfectly capturing those subtle emotional cues.
Okay.
But companies like FlexClip are developing technology that analyzes and replicates the emotions in the original performance.
Interesting.
So even though you're hearing a different language, you're still getting the intended emotional punch.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like building empathy into the technology itself.
Right.
But I also wonder, what about less common languages or dialects?
Yeah.
Can AI handle that kind of complexity?
That's one of the current limitations.
Okay.
AI excels in mainstream languages where there's a ton of data available for training.
Right.
But it struggles with rarer dialects or accents.
So for now, we still need human expertise for those niche projects.
Exactly.
But it sounds like AI dubbing has the potential to really break down language barriers in the future.
Absolutely. And it's not just dubbing. Think about voiceovers and advertising.
Oh, yeah.
What if instead of generic ads, you heard a message tailored specifically to you, delivered in a voice that you actually enjoy listening to?
Okay, now you're talking my language.
Right.
We're all bombarded with so much advertising these days
Yeah.
that anything that makes it more personalized and less annoying is a huge win in my book.
Right. And from a business perspective, personalized ads are much more effective. AI voice cloning could revolutionize marketing by making those messages more relevant and engaging for everyone.
So it's a win-win for businesses and consumers.
Exactly.
And what about the world of podcasting?
Imagine a podcast where the host sounds perfectly consistent no matter what, even
Right.
if they're sick or have a busy schedule. Or think about audiobooks where each character could have their own unique voice, adding a whole new level of depth and immersion to the story.
Now you're speaking to the podcast nerd in me.
I know, right?
But what about those of us who are a little less enthusiastic about technology taking over everything? I mean, there have to be some downsides to all of this, right?
You're right. It's important to acknowledge that this technology isn't perfect.
Oh.
As impressive as it is, AI still struggles with certain aspects of human speech, like genuine emotional depth.
I see.
It can imitate sadness or joy, but it doesn't truly feel those emotions the way a human voice actor would.
So human voice actors and directors are still essential for adding that authentic human touch. And it's not just emotions, is it?
Right.
What about technical challenges like syncing AI voices with video content?
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be a nightmare.
That's another area where the technology is still evolving.
Okay.
Perfectly matching lip movements is tricky, but companies like OpusClip are developing some cutting-edge tech to tackle those synchronization issues.
So it sounds like there are definitely some bumps in the road, but the potential here is massive.
Yeah.
What else can we expect to see from AI voice cloning in the future? What's on the horizon?
One of the most exciting areas is real-time voice cloning. Like, imagine watching a live sports broadcast or a news update.
Okay.
And hearing the commentators or the reporters speaking in your language in their own voices, all thanks to AI.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
It'd be like having a personal translator for any live event.
Exactly.
No more language barriers for global events, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right.
What about some more immediate applications? We've talked about the potential for misuse, but let's kind of flip the script. How could this technology actually be used to help people?
There are so many possibilities there.
Yeah.
Consider someone who has lost their voice due to an illness or injury.
Okay.
AI voice cloning could give them back the power to communicate using their own voice. That's a truly life-changing application.
That's such a powerful idea.
Yeah.
It really highlights the human side of this technology. And what about education? I can see this being a game changer for students of all ages.
Absolutely. Imagine a world where textbooks could be read aloud in a clear, engaging voice tailored to each student's learning style.
Right.
Or personalized audio lessons that adapt to a student's individual needs. It would be like having a personal tutor for every subject.
I wish I had that back in school.
Right.
And think about language learning.
Oh, yeah.
You could practice speaking with an AI that sounds just like a native speaker, getting real-time feedback on your pronunciation and fluency.
It would be like having a language immersion experience right in your own home.
Right in your own home.
And speaking of personalized experiences, let's not forget about marketing and advertising.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about hearing ads in a celebrity's voice, but it goes way beyond that.
Okay.
AI voice cloning could create ads that are hyper-personalized to each listener.
I have to admit, I'm a bit skeptical about anything that makes advertising more effective.
Right.
But I'm also intrigued by the idea of hearing ads that are actually relevant to my interests.
Yeah.
Maybe even in a voice I find pleasant.
Exactly. Imagine receiving an ad for a product you actually need, narrated by a voice that you actually, like, it could completely change how we experience advertising,
Right.
making it more engaging and less intrusive.
Okay, you've almost convinced me.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective, I can see how personalized ads would be much more effective.
For sure.
So it sounds like AI voice cloning could benefit both consumers and companies.
Absolutely.
But what about other industries? We touched on gaming and virtual reality, but how else could this technology be applied?
Well, let's dive a little deeper into gaming. Imagine playing a role-playing game where you can create a character with a unique voice that reflects their personality and backstory.
Oh yeah,
It would add a whole new level of immersion to the gaming experience.
for sure.
And in virtual reality, AI voice cloning could create entire worlds populated by characters that sound and interact just like real people.
Okay, now I'm officially both excited and a little terrified.
Right.
The line between virtual and real is getting blurry, isn't it?
It is.
But let's talk about the nuts and bolts of this tech for a minute.
Sure.
Earlier, we mentioned platforms like Murf and Heygen.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through how someone would actually use these tools?
Sure. Most AI voice cloning platforms follow a similar process.
Okay.
First, you need to provide the AI with a sample of the voice you want to clone.
Right.
This usually involves recording the person speaking for a few minutes.
Okay.
Then the platform uses its algorithms to analyze that recording and create a digital model of the voice.
So you're essentially training the AI to understand the specific qualities of that voice. And how long does that process take?
It depends on the complexity of the voice and the power of the AI, but it can range from a few minutes to several hours.
Wow.
Once the voice model is created, you can use it to generate new audio.
Okay.
You simply type in the text you want the AI to speak, and it creates a speech file that sounds just like the original voice.
It sounds like magic.
Yeah.
But I imagine there are limitations. Can you really make any voice say anything?
Well, there are ethical boundaries, of course.
Right.
Reputable platforms have safeguards to prevent misuse.
Okay.
For example, they might prohibit cloning voices without consent or prevent the creation of deepfakes.
That's good to hear. So there are some ethical guidelines in place.
Yes.
But even within those boundaries, are there any technical limitations?
Yeah.
Can AI really capture every single nuance of a human voice?
AI voice cloning is still evolving.
Okay.
And there are some areas where it falls short. While it can replicate a voice fairly accurately, it might miss those tiny details that make a person's speaking style unique. Things like subtle inflections, pauses, or breathing patterns might not be perfectly replicated.
So it's not quite perfect, but it's getting pretty darn close.
It's getting there.
And as the technology continues to develop, I imagine those limitations will become even less noticeable.
For sure.
But this conversation has me wondering, what would you do if you had access to this technology? What's your AI voice cloning dream project?
That's a tough one. I think I'd create a personalized audiobook of my favorite novel, narrated by my favorite actor. Can you imagine hearing Pride and Prejudice read by Benedict Cumberbatch?
That would be epic. Personally, I'd create a voice model of myself so I could finally catch up on all those podcasts I've been meaning to listen to.
You could even create a podcast featuring yourself, interviewing your favorite historical figures.
Now you're talking, this conversation is really opening my eyes to the vast potential of this technology. But of course, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
It does.
We've already touched on the ethical considerations, but are there any other potential downsides we should be aware of?
One concern is the potential impact on the job market.
Oh.
As AI voice cloning becomes more sophisticated, it could displace human voice actors in certain industries.
That's a valid concern, but I think it's important to remember that technology has always disrupted the job market.
Right.
The printing press, the automobile, the internet, all of these innovations led to job displacement,
Yeah.
but they also created new opportunities.
You're absolutely right, and I think there will always be a need for human creativity and talent in the world of voice acting.
Yeah.
AI might be able to replicate a voice, but it can't replace the human touch, the ability to convey genuine emotion and connect with an audience on a deeper level.
Well said. And ultimately, like any tool, AI voice cloning can be used for good or for evil.
Right.
It's up to us as a society to ensure that it's used responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely. We needed to have open and honest conversations about the potential benefits and risks of this technology.
Yeah.
And work together to create a future where it enhances our lives without undermining our values.
This has been such a fascinating discussion. We've explored the incredible potential of AI voice cloning,
It has.
but we've also acknowledged the challenges and ethical considerations that come with it.
And as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive into AI voice cloning, I want to leave you with this question.
Yep.
How do you think AI voice cloning will impact your own life in the years to come?
That's a great question to ponder, and we'll continue exploring the evolving landscape of AI voice cloning in part 3 of our deep dive. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of AI voice cloning. We've talked about the tech behind it, the potential benefits, the ethical tightropes, and even some fun what-if scenarios.
It's been a wild ride.
It has.
Now let's zoom out and think about the big picture.
Okay.
What does the rise of AI voice cloning really tell us about the future of communication and storytelling?
That's a great question. It feels like we're on the verge of a major shift.
Yeah.
For centuries, the human voice has been our primary tool for sharing stories, connecting with each other, expressing ourselves. But now AI is changing the rules of the game.
And what's fascinating is that AI voice cloning isn't just about replicating voices we already know.
Right.
It's about creating entirely new possibilities for what a voice can be.
Right.
Imagine voices that don't exist in the real world. Voices that can speak any language flawlessly. Voices that can even sing or perform music.
Hold on. AI that can sing.
Yeah.
Are we talking about the next chart-topping pop star being a computer program?
It's not as crazy as it sounds.
Right.
AI-generated music is already a growing field, and when you combine that with voice cloning, you open up a whole new world of creative potential. Imagine a song sung by a voice that's never existed before, a voice perfectly tailored to the music and lyrics.
Okay, my head is spinning a bit, but let's bring it back down to earth for a moment.
Right.
How will AI voice cloning impact our daily lives in the near future?
I think we'll see more personalized experiences in areas like customer service, education, and entertainment. Imagine calling a company, and instead of navigating a frustrating phone menu, you're greeted by an AI that sounds just like a friendly, helpful human being.
Yeah.
Or think about bedtime stories for kids. What if your child could have their favorite book read to them by an AI that sounds just like their favorite celebrity?
Those are pretty cool examples. And what about accessibility? We've already talked about AI voice cloning, giving a voice back to people who've lost theirs, but the implications go even further, don't they?
Absolutely. Imagine a world where anyone can access information and entertainment in any language, regardless of their own language abilities.
Right.
AI voice cloning could break down language barriers like never before, making the world a more connected and inclusive place.
It's a beautiful vision, but of course, no new technology comes without its concerns. Some people worry about the potential for AI voice cloning to be used for deception or manipulation.
Right.
Others fear that it could lead to a loss of authenticity and genuine human connection.
Those are valid concerns, and they highlight why open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of this technology are so important.
Yeah.
We need to establish clear guidelines and regulations to ensure that AI voice cloning is used responsibly and ethically. It's not about stopping progress, it's about steering it in the right direction.
I couldn't agree more. We can't just bury our heads in the sand and pretend this technology isn't happening.
Right.
It's up to all of us to engage in the conversation and help shape how AI voice cloning is used.
Exactly. We need to be proactive in ensuring that this technology is a force for good in the world. We need to ask tough questions, consider the potential risks, and work together to create a future where AI voice cloning enhances our lives without compromising our values.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored how AI voice cloning works, the incredible potential it holds, and the challenges and ethical dilemmas we need to address.
And as we step into this new era of AI-powered voices, it's more important than ever to stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged in the conversation.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey into the world of AI voice cloning. And remember, the future is what we make it, so let's make it a good one.